Hi, and welcome to the Crit Hit Wild podcast, where we cover all things Marvel Crisis Protocol, and we do a new character every week. This week, we're going to be talking about Werewolf by Night, finally. And I am your host, Fred.
I'm Brad.
And I'm Michael.
Hey, Michael, how's it going, man?
How's it going? Good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Michael is our friend who went with us to Second Wind. This episode, we don't have Steven due to other responsibilities that he has to take care of. And I am to believe that Brandon actually has a flat tire. So he might be joining us late. We'll see. We'll see. But hopefully everything is all right on his end. And we're going to press forward. I first want to get out in front of this and say, sorry we didn't have an episode last week. The three of us, had just finished the Second Wind tournament, and we were all exhausted, and none of us wanted to do a record. So I think that we just took the week off. Sorry about that, everyone. But we are back today, and we are going to be talking about the Second Wind event that happened last weekend. It was, spoiler alert, a ton of fun, and I greatly enjoyed it. But before we do all of that, let's talk about upcoming tournaments and news. I do not think that there's any relevant news from AMG. I think the most recent thing that we got was all of the information about the Wrecking Crew, which we will talk about on a later episode. So, upcoming tournaments. Coming up on November the 16th, there is going to be a tournament at Lost Legion Games and Comics. That is our local game store in South Charleston, West Virginia. If you are interested in playing against any of us, or if you're just in the general area, come on down. We always need more players. It tends to only be a few people who show up regularly, so we need more people who want to play. And then coming up, we now know the next BECC qualifying event. It is going to be on January 18th of 2025, and it is at Lost Legion Games and Comics in South Charleston, West Virginia. Come on down, everyone. I'm expecting quite a few more people than normal to join us on that one. Here's hoping. And I'm looking forward to it. It'll be nice to have a BECC that I do not have to travel for. All right. I guess I think that's it for news and announcements. Let's talk about the games that we played. Let's just jump right in and talk about the Second Wind qualifier. Not qualifier, just the Second Wind event. Before I begin, let's just sum up our takes here. I had a huge amount of fun. It was an absolute blast. It was extremely well run. The venue was excellent for this event, and every single person was great. Like, everyone that I interacted with was there to have fun and there to have a good time. I want to give a special shout out to Dwayne. He may be listening right now. He recognized my voice, which is not something that I'm used to having happen. So shout out to listener Dwayne. I'm sad that you and I did not get to play against each other. Maybe in the future sometime. All right, let's just jump right in. Who wants to talk about their first round first? I feel like I've been talking too much, so let's start with Brad. Brad, why don't you talk about your first round?
Okay, so I played against Zach Cohen, first round, who won the event last year. So I can pretty easily admit that Zach is, well, I now know for sure, but before I started the game, I was pretty sure Zach was a better player than me. He played Loki, Thor 2, Bill, and Proxima Midnight, so that's Asgard. I played Apocalypse in this event, so I'm always going to play Apocalypse, so I'm just going to skip him for future. Archangel, Psylocke, and Colossus. Apocalypse got to move and attack turn 1, and then was dazed first activation of turn 2, and killed first activation of turn 3. So that's all he
Gosh.
got to do the entire game. Archangel rolled some good attacks, but no defense. One attack with Colossus rolled 4 successes and 4 skulls against Loki, so that did nothing. And failed to daze Loki at that point. And at the end of the game, on my side, everyone on my side was KO'd except Colossus was currently dazed. And I killed Bill. Psylocke did well in this game, and that's it. He did mention after the game that he put Loki up next to Colossus to bait me into attacking Loki, so that I wouldn't go up and bodyguard Thor 2. And as soon as he said that, I realized that I absolutely should have moved Colossus up to bodyguard Thor 2's attacks. That would have been really good, because then Apocalypse would have got to attack again. So he absolutely baited me. So that's it. That's my game.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
lost.
that sounds
I lost. It was 16-4.
oof. That
Yeah.
sounds really rough. That was a rough start to the tournament for you. But I mean, it sounds like your opponent is one of the absolute pros. I think wasn't he on the final table? Or was he close to the final table?
He was not on the final table.
Okay, okay.
He got
He
knocked.
still did
He got knocked out by someone that was on the final table, but he was
right.
not.
It was still an excellent player.
Yes.
All right, Michael, why don't you talk about your first game?
All right. I honestly, I'm really bad at names, so I don't remember who I played round one. But
Uh,
we played Montesi. Oh, sorry.
it's a gentleman named Paul. I'm looking at the at Longshanks right now.
Okay. Yeah, because but yeah, I'm really bad with names. So we ended up on Montesi's sword at 15. I took Captain America 1, Hulk, and Namor. And he took Star Lord, Bill, and Thanos with Mind in Space.
Holy crap. This was a kaiju fight.
Yeah, it was. I was trying to see if this 15 would work out against other uh, tall lists. Turn one, Namor went up and grabbed the middle, extract, and then dropped back. And he flipped my sword. We ended up even on swords, and I had 2 Monteses. Turn two, Namor staggered Thanos, and then Bill or Hulk ended up staggering Bill. And so he didn't have much of a turn two at all. He moved and made one attack each with both of them that wasn't able to do too much.
Okay.
Turn three, I staggered Thanos again with Namor. Hulk missed his trigger stagger on Bill. So Bill ended up doing, I think, around 8 damage to Hulk. And
Not too bad.
no, not too bad. And I kept the lead on victory points on each of those rounds. And then turn 4, it was the same. I ended up staggering. No, turn 4 was a bit different. I was able to stagger both Bill and Thanos, so he had another really bad turn with both of those models.
Okay.
And then turn 5, Hulk went dazed Thanos, dazed Star Lord, and threw Bill medium away. And there was nothing he could do at that point. I ended up getting up to 20 victory points on that turn.
All right. Well done. And was that how the game ended? That was the last round of the game.
Yeah, that's how the game ended.
Okay. It sounded like it went really well for you in this huge kaiju fight.
Yeah, I was able to stagger at least one model a turn, and a lot of the turns able to stagger two.
Who was Namor like the star of this battle?
Yes, I think Namor got stagger off every turn,
Yeah, that's outstanding, especially in this
and
kind of
then
fight.
yeah, and Hulk was every other turn with his stagger.
Okay. Yeah, well done. Congratulations, Michael. Okay, so my first game was against an opponent named Jeff. He was playing Wakanda with King T'Challa. His list was King T'Challa, the new Killmonger, Shuri Okoye, and he had Hulkbuster in his list. My list was Doc Ock, Rhino, Vulture, Craven, Lizard, and Mysterio. We were playing at 20 threat under Skrulls and Infinity Formula. Round one, we seemingly had a pretty normal round one. We all went up and took scrolls and took our respective infinity formulas. The one thing that happened is my lizard got pushed by a scroll, and he pushed him forward, and then Hulkbuster shot him twice and pushed him, and I ended up taking a total of 5 damage, which put him close to dazed, but not quite dazed. Round two, my lizard dazed and my vulture dazed, and I had used custom upgrades on Craven the Hunter against King T'Challa, and that comes up later. Craven basically chases King T'Challa around the battlefield for the rest of the game, and dazes him and would have KO'd him, but we'll talk about that. Round three, my whole team died. He KO'd both Lizard and Vulture. His team was exceptionally killy for Wakanda under King T'Challa's leadership because almost everybody has a push, and they do an extra damage whenever they do a push, and that piles up. That really piles up. Uh, Round four, I'm able to use this is a robbery on Hulkbuster, and threw him into Killmonger, which KO'd Killmonger. Then I attack Hulkbuster twice and throw a size 3 terrain piece into him, and then I surprise webhead him into Hulkbuster. I had not touched Hulkbuster before this activation, and I daze him. This something occurs here that is does affect how this game would have played out. My opponent put out baby Tony right then, who is healthy, and put him contesting an objective piece. That actually doesn't occur until the cleanup phase. So he ended up scoring a point that he probably shouldn't have, but that's not. I don't think that it was malicious. I think that it was just a case that he had never had Hulkbuster become dazed before. Um, by the end of this round, I score more points, but I end up losing at this round 11-16, because he scored so many points on round three. Uh, if he had not put out Baby Tony, it would have been 12-15, and I would have had another round, and I would have been in a pretty good spot with where everything was to really do a lot of pain. So this could have gone another way, but it didn't. Oh well. I lose this round 11-16. And let's move on to our round two. Uh, as of right now, myself and Brad both lost, and Michael won. Brad, what was your game two like?
I played against a Defenders player. He played Daredevil, Valkyrie, Hulk, Shocker, and Black Panther Chosen of Bast. I took Blob, Deadpool, Psylocke, and Magic this game. Early in the game, Hulk did 5 damage to Apocalypse and 2 damage to Blob, and I healed all of that back with Servants of Apocalypse and then Patch Up
Okay.
to just wipe out his Hulk's turn. Uh, That turn, Apocalypse and Blob did a bit of damage before Apocalypse used the intrusion to teleport away. And I teleported to my right hand intrusion and placed Apocalypse. With Apocalypse, Chosen of Bast, and then the piece of terrain, he could not teleport Hulk over there and had to leave Hulk in the middle. So he just attacked Blob, who he pushed Blob away from the point, and Blob pushed him away from the point. And then all this game, Shocker was really annoying. On my left-hand flank, it was Shocker, Valkyrie, and Daredevil versus Psylocke and Deadpool. And Shocker was really annoying. But after Deadpool flipped, he did 2 spinders and used the war ability on both of them to KO Daredevil, KO Valkyrie, and daze Shocker.
Oh, wow.
In one activation. That was good. That fight was very interesting over there. The Magic versus Chosen of Bast fight wasn't very interesting. And then the middle, Blob and Apocalypse versus Hulk was interesting. Until at the very last activation of a turn, I move Apocalypse and use Famine Teleport to do, and then did a 12 die spender on Hulk. And then he had someone left to activate. I don't remember who it was. And I activated first the next turn. And I did a 12 die spender and used the war ability on it to daze Hulk. And then that was with Hulk dead, Valkyrie dead, Daredevil dead, and Shocker and Chosen of Bast flipped. I just played clean up the rest of the turn to score as many points as possible. Ended the game 20-7.
Oh, right. Nicely done.
Yeah.
So do you think Shocker was worth taking on his part?
He had a
I almost never feel that way. I
he
almost
had
never
him
feel he's worth
in a
taking.
good position, and it kept some of his models alive when they shouldn't have been. So, kinda.
Yeah.
The thing he regretted taking was actually Hulk.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
Shocker. So he was like, I should have gone even wider, but
Yeah.
he didn't.
Okay. Well, Michael, do you want to talk about your game too?
Yeah. My game 2 ended up Paranoia and Demons. We played at 16. I took Captain America 1, Black Widow 1, Ghost Spider, Iron Man, and Spider Woman. And my opponent took Blade, Namor, Iron Fist, and Dr. Voodoo.
Okay.
Turn 1, don't remember exactly how, but I ended up with 3 of the Paranoia. And I had one person on my back, Demon, and he had the other Paranoia and was controlling the other 2 demons. So I was up by 1 point turn 1. Top of turn 2, he dazed Black Widow, got the point, or got her Paranoia token, and he ended up at the very end of the turn pushing my character off of my back demon, so he ended up going up by 1 point on overall on that turn. Turn 3 was a really bad turn for me. He ended up dazing Gwen, and he put Stagger on Iron Man, and so I didn't have much of anything else I could do because Captain America was out of position. And Spider Woman didn't have enough power to try to steal a token off of anybody. and he ended up going up by 7 points on that one, on that turn. And then turn 4, uh, I used Iron Man to attack Iron Fist. I really just wanted to build one extra power so that I could do his spender with Friday AI on it to daze. It would have ended up dazing 2 models and possibly a third, but I forgot that Iron Fist can heroes for hire himself, which
Mm.
allowed him to throw Iron Man out of position to get the second shot.
Oh man.
I did end up dazing 1 model, but not as many as I needed to. And I don't remember exactly. I think he was 1 point away from winning on that turn. And on turn 5, there was just nothing else I could do because he had moved Blade and Voodoo back to his back demon. That I didn't have anyone who could get up there.
And he could just sit back there and he would win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. That happens. It's tough sometimes.
Oh, yeah, no, it was definitely a fun game. I like after he said it, I remembered that you can hear that I've used Hero for Hires on my own Luke Cage. Where I hadn't played in a while, I just forgot.
But
It
yeah,
was a
that's
great
not
move.
it doesn't sound like something you should be able to do, but it is something you can do. And
Yeah, no,
it's a great move.
it was a great move, and that's ultimately what sealed the game at that point.
Yeah. All right then. My round 2, I was playing against a gentleman named David. We were playing on Legacy Virus and Infinity Formula at Threat 19. I don't think I've said I'm playing Spider Foes. Like the team I brought to this was Spider Foes. My opponent is playing Asgard in this game, so I'm really nervous about 6th Threat Thor coming and killing my entire team. So I went into this game with a plan. My list was Doc Ock, Rhino, Lizard, Vulture, Craven, and Bullseye, while my opponent's list was 6 Point Thor, Loki, Lord of Lies, Lady Sif, and Beta Ray Bill. I was 2 wider than my opponent. I had 6 models on the table while he had 4, which gave me a huge advantage. Um, I saw where Thor was deployed, and so I deployed and moved my models to avoid him. I let Thor take the middle, and I did move Craven into the middle. And my plan was to let Thor kill Craven because I don't really care about Craven. He's not important to my team. He's just a useful killing machine. Um, round 2, Thor attacked Craven twice and failed to daze him. He just rolled really bad. It was a case where his dice were completely against him. Craven then ran away, leaving Thor all by himself in the middle, which was fantastic for me. He could get to anywhere where there was fighting happening, but he would have to throw himself and move, so he would only get one attack, which is fantastic for me the next round. Uh, I scored more points than my opponent, I think, in every round of this fight, and I eventually pull out the win. I won 16-10 in this game. Uh, Another notable thing that occurred here is Bullseye and Loki were having a fight, just the two of them. Loki had to run away from my other models because I had beaten up on him and he only had 2 health left. And so Bullseye, who also only had 2 health, started his turn within range. So I knew for a fact that I was gonna take out Loki, but I rolled a skull in all of my attacks against him. So if I had not been about to daze him, he would have dazed me with oh what a pity. But I got him with Bullseye, which felt really good. Uh, all right, and that is that's it for my round two. So as of right now, that means that all three of us are 1-1. Yeah, that's not gonna keep. We're gonna separate out a little bit here. All right, Brad, why don't you talk about round three?
So Fred and I have the same record, so we're likely to play each other. But I
That's
managed,
always how it happens.
but I managed to dodge him. Instead,
Thank God.
I play Fred's opponent from the first round, Jeffrey, who's playing Wakanda. Against me, he plays King T'Challa, Hulkbuster, M'Baku, and Killmonger 2. And I'm taking Psylocke, Magic, Blob, and Deadpool. He focuses down Deadpool, and Deadpool dazes, I think, turn 1, KO's turn 2. Like, it's super fast. We tie on everything the first 2 turns, so nobody scored any points for 2 turns.
Oh man. Oh man.
He puts
That's wild.
most of his remaining resources, like cards and actions and stuff, into taking out Apocalypse. Uh, Most of the work was done by T'Challa in this, but he does completely KO and take Apocalypse off the table. Uh, Magic just held on, just sat at a point the rest of the game. Blob and Psylocke together work to KO T'Challa and Killmonger 2. And by this point, M'Baku's already off the table because I dazed him my first activation of turn 2 and KO'd him the first activation of turn 3 with Psylocke. Because he kept activating other people first, and Psylocke can just kill M'Baku. It's not very hard.
Because he's got such bad Mystic defense.
And I think his energy is bad too. I was rolling Mystic,
Oh, okay.
but his energy might be worse, and I made a mistake. It didn't matter. I dazed and KO'd him pretty easily.
Okay.
So at the end of round 4, so we hadn't scored any points the first 2 turns. The end of round 4, so that's 2 more turns. I was up 13-0.
Holy crap.
And the only model he had left was Hulkbuster.
Oh, man.
We ended up playing all 6 rounds. The remaining 2 rounds, Hulkbuster finally kills Psylocke, and Magic and Blob just sit on points to win me the game.
Okay.
And don't interact at all. At that point, literally all I had to do was Psylocke had to survive just long enough to keep Hulkbuster busy, and then I win the game. And that's what happens. And I end up winning 17-6.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well done. Nicely done, Brad. All right, Michael. Why don't you talk about your round 3?
All right. So unfortunately, I don't know what happened to my notes for round 3, so I can't give a great play-by-play of what happened, but I do remember it was Spider Infected and Sword Base. We played 17 Threat. And then I misplayed, and in turn 0, I didn't go wide enough. I ended up playing Captain America 1, Namor, Hulk, and Black Widow. And my opponent played Miles Morales, Ghost Spider, Baron Zemo. And they had 2 more. I cannot remember the other models that they had.
Okay.
But they were a really good opponent, and they just outplayed me every turn. Um,
Yeah.
they were up by at least 3 points each turn, and the end result was 19-8.
Okay. It just against web warriors sometimes if they have the advantage and you can't kill them fast enough, which is really hard to do also, they will just run away with it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. They played. I know they played Wong. I remember they did have Wong as a fourth model, and then they had two others.
Okay. Yeah, so they were two wider than you.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, having done that in the previous round, it gives you a huge advantage. So it like if they aren't able to thin that number down quickly, you're gonna run away with the person who has that advantage is gonna run away with the game, I think. Well, all right. My round three opponent was a gentleman named Shane who was playing defenders. We were playing on Alien Ship and Infinity Formula, and God, I hate Alien Ship. Alien Ship is bad for me. I really hate seeing that one. But it was 17 threat, and my team was Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Rhino, Lizard, and Bullseye. And my opponent had Namor, Shang-Chi, Daredevil, Rhino. Oh, and that's it. Just those four. Uh, I was pulling ahead at one point in this game where I had a round where I scored more points than my opponent. Um, I pitted Lizard against Namor by himself with custom upgrades, and Lizard, even though it's not an ideal person to have custom upgrades on, Namor couldn't do much against him with rolling 6 physical defense. And I was going to win that fight as things were shaken out. Uh, and I end up KOing Namor, I think, with Lizard. There was a turn where he killed most of my team, and then we were divided where on the Infinity formulas where my Lizard was up against his Rhino on one side, and my Rhino was up against his Daredevil and his Shang-Chi on the other side. So my Rhino ran away. Uh, obviously, that's not a fight he's going to win. And I really, really needed to daze his Rhino with my Rhino. So I moved and then stampeded, and I would get one attack and a throw against his Rhino. I attack him. I think I think I do 2 damage, nowhere near enough, and I throw the thing at him, and I don't end up dazing Rhino, and then his Rhino KO'd my Lizard, and that was essentially it. And there's nothing more I could do at that point. This game ended. My opponent had 16 points to my 14. So it was really close, but he ended up getting ahead on attrition, and I could not claw my way back. So it was a great opponent. It was a great game, but I ended up losing. That puts Brad at 2-1, and both Michael and myself at 1-2 at this point in the tournament. As we go into round 4, Brad, tell us about your game 4.
Real quick about game 3, something I didn't write down that I forgot about. When his last attack on Apocalypse that ended up killing him, he did Killmonger Spender, and the defender's not allowed to modify their dice. And and I like confirmed this with him, and then I played Recalibration Matrix and made him just re-roll his, which would have been brilliant if I had rolled well, but I didn't. I only had one block. So I was just really hoping that he would roll bad, and he actually rolled even better. But it
Yeah.
was the only way Apocalypse could have possibly survived. But
That's such a fun interaction.
it
Like if you
is.
roll real hot on the defense of that and your opponent does too, you just recalibrate and just keep your
Yeah.
roll.
Yeah. It felt big brained at the time. So my fourth round was against Midnight Suns, and he played Blade, Gwenom. Gwenom's great in Midnight Suns. Wong, Iron Fist, and Voodoo. I played Magic, Psylocke, and Archangel. The beginning of the game was very much in his favor. I dazed Gwynnm, but I didn't really do anything else. The score was low at the beginning of the game. He ended up dazing and later KOing Psylocke with Voodoo, and it was mostly off of rolling wilds on his spender.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
where it does the extra burning damage
Yeah.
if it burns
That
away
was
power. Yeah.
that was mostly what got her. But he ended up with a 14-7 lead at one point, and at that point I was like, I even said to him, I'm pretty sure that wins you the game. I had put poison on Iron Fist like turn 1, and I put root on somebody. I think it was Gwynnm and on Wong. Like one point he was like, "Do I spend 3 power to put 1 power on somebody else?" And he's like, "I think I have to." And he put a power on Iron Fist. That felt good. He did eventually build up enough power to Iron Fist Apocalypse, which instead of activating him, dazed him, which was fine because at the start of the next round, Apocalypse dazed 3 models.
Oh wow.
So I attacked someone. It had to have been Iron Fist. And dazed Iron Fist. And did the the pestilence power to deal 1 damage to Gwynnm and dazed her. And then this was intrusions again, so I teleported from my left to my right and one-shotted Voodoo as well.
Nice.
So I scored 4-0 that turn. So it's now 14-11 in his favor. Last turn was the nail biter. I had Magic, Apocalypse, and Archangel left. He had Iron Fist and Voodoo. Everyone was flipped at this point. And I'm sitting there thinking, whoever he activates, I have to go after the other person so that he doesn't get a second activation this turn. That's like my only chance of winning. So he activates Voodoo and teleports him over to try to take out Archangel, who was on my left side with Iron Fist. A recalibration matrix saves Archangel's life. Archangel then KOs Iron Fist. I pick up a point with Apocalypse and score 5 to his nothing again, and that gives me the win. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, it's really close. So it ends up 16-14. And I'll have to thank Brandon because, like, I definitely knew how to handle Iron Fist, especially after he picks up one of the alien ships with him at the first turn of the game. So he's already down a power, and then I knew if I poisoned him, and I purposely never attacked him, so that it took turns for him to build up enough power to finally Iron Fist me.
Yeah, fire off the main thing about his character.
Yep.
Nicely done. Well done, Brad.
So in day 1, 3-1, I wanted to go at least even. So pressure's off.
Nice. All right, Michael. How was your round 4?
I had a really fun game round 4. Unfortunately, like every year, round 4, I make a lot of bad choices because by that point I've had way too much to drink. And so I ended up playing against the Sentinels player. We played Fisk Hammers. We played 16 Threat. I brought Captain America, Hulk, Widow, and Wolverine. and he brought the Prime Mach 4, two of the other Mark IVs, and Iron Fist. We go even pretty much every turn of the game. I do a lot of damage to the Sentinels, but try not to um, daze or KO them because they all had he had the power to bring them back or to have them explode. And then on the last turn, I just completely forgot about that and had one of them surrounded by all my models and KO'd it with Wolverine. And it exploded and did, I think, 5 damage to everybody, which dazed my whole team.
Oh God. It's the
And
Sentinel's most favorite moment.
oh yeah, no, it was definitely my game to lose. I shouldn't have attacked it at that point because I think if I back up, I win. But instead, I tried to get rid of that model so I'd have an easier chance to back up later. But it was a bad idea.
Oh well. Oh well.
It was a fun game. I enjoyed playing him. I
All
think I
right.
was his only win.
Oh, okay. Because they were playing Sentinels.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, my round four, it was against a gentleman named Raymond who was playing Apocalypse. It was Senators and Infinity Formula at 19 threat. So he brought Apocalypse, Deadpool, Wolverine, Colossus, and Toad. And my team was Doc Ock, Rhino, Bullseye, Mysterio, and Vulture and Lizard. Um, a huge thing happens round one. Round one, Deadpool goes into my Sinister Traps, which is usually a bad thing because I don't like to use Sinister Traps against people who have healing factor because they usually just heal it. But I do 4 damage to Deadpool and daze him round one, which was huge. Uh,
That
because that,
sucks.
yeah, and Deadpool was his famine. I think, or is he a famine? I don't know.
He could have been famine.
Yeah. He was his famine because he does not get the evolution token that he was expecting to get, and that threw his entire round one game off. Uh, I felt ahead all of this game. Uh, and that because I was scoring pretty well. He was keeping up, but I was scoring pretty well. Uh, and then he took out Lizard and Rhino with one activation of Wolverine. Wolverine as War is an absolutely incredible model. Wolverine can kill the world as War. He did that. He also had both Poison and Root on Doc Ock, and Doc Ock with Poison and Root can do nothing. He's like completely useless. He's just sitting back on a point thinking, I can't generate power. I'm not doing anything. So he essentially took him out of the fight that way. He could do his builder, but I was also not rolling well on his builder, so I wasn't generating any power at all. And I end up falling behind on attrition. Apocalypse is real tough for Spider Foes to deal with. I can't. It's hard for me to displace him because he's size 4, and it's hard for me to do enough damage to daze him. I could surprise Webhead to daze him, but then what do I do on his backside where he's even more dangerous and harder to give what are they called? Afflictions to. That's not the conditions. I can't give conditions to him. And a lot of my stuff gives conditions, which is not good when you're fighting against Apocalypse. So I end up losing this game, even though I felt pretty in control for the first 3 rounds. I lose this game 17-16. Uh, and I just could not get anything going at near the end of the game. It was just like I couldn't get any breaks to go my way, and Wolverine taking out both Lizard and Rhino in one activation really put me on the back foot. But it was a great game. It was a great opponent, and that was the last round of this day. Because the way that Second Wind is split up is we do 4 rounds and then 2 rounds the next day. Uh, and I was feeling pretty defeated. I was 1-3. Brad was 3-1, and Michael, you're also 1-3. Is that correct?
Yeah.
At this point, yeah. I went into this hoping to go 3-3. That was my ideal situation, and it's looking pretty bad at this point. So we go. I'm gonna break the format a little bit, and we went to dinner at a Korean place, and that really raised my spirits because that was great. That Korean place
That
was
was
fantastic.
amazing.
Yeah, I was very happy with that place. Uh, okay. We go back the next day. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling a little bit better. Brad, why don't you talk about your round 5?
I played Johnny Pastrami, who I played, I think it was round 6 last year, and he beat me in a close game. He's playing Cabal this year. He's playing Red Skull Master of the World, 3-Point Bucky, 3-Point Zemo, Nebula, and Namor. I played Psylocke Magic Archangel. I had some pretty good dice at the beginning, and he wasn't really playing scenario. He was trying to attrition me. So I got ahead quite a bit on points. Namor failed 4 flips on the meteors and took a damage each time.
Oh God.
And then one turn I dazed his whole team except Red Skull, and I KO'd Bucky that round. But by then his attrition was like catching up, and he ended up KOing everyone on my team except Apocalypse. Apocalypse had 3 health left.
Oh my goodness.
And took 2 attacks from Zemo. He lives. He's on his front side at this point still.
Oh, okay.
So he lives, and I score 4 points. So I'm at 15. And
with one model
with one
on
model.
the table.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Oh no. If I live, I go to 15, and I'm likely to win. But he manages to get him on the second attack. So I don't go to 15. And he scores 7, putting him ahead of me. So on the next turn, I try a Hail Mary with Apocalypse. I try to daze Red Skull, fail that. I try to kill Zemo to pick up all 3 hammers. And that would, because I had just flipped, I had 8 health, and it would be really hard to dislodge 3 hammers from him. So, like, that's my chance to win. But I don't kill Zemo either.
Oh man. And
I still, even if I did get Zemo, I still need him to whiff on one of the meteors, I think. And fail to kill Apocalypse. So, like, it was really, like, stretching for the win at this point. But
yeah.
The game ends. I don't know. Because I tried to go back to Longshanks, and it's reloading the page. I lost.
Man, that sounds. He killed a lot of stuff in that game. It sounds like
12-21. Yeah. Magic died from Zemo really early. Well, she held on longer than she should have. But then once he started getting damage on her, she went down quickly. And then Archangel, because I healed him with a patch up. He left him at 1. He activated a model and didn't take Archangel out, and I'm like, okay, I'll just heal him. And then Archangel did some work after that. So uh everyone
Okay.
stayed on the table a little longer than they probably should have. It kept me in the game for a while, but attrition eventually got me.
Yeah. Well, all right. Michael, why don't you talk about your round 5?
All right. My round 5, we ended up on Gamma and Hammers at 15. I took Hulk, Namor, and Captain America 1 again. And my opponent took Sam Wilson, Iron Man, Luke Cage, and Hulk. Uh, and one of the main things for this game was my opponent did not take Heroes for Hire.
Oh, okay.
Um, and so turn 1, we each go even on the hammers, and um, I let him take the center gamma. I had um, Namor go get the left hammer, and his Luke Cage went and got uh, my right side hammer. At the end of the turn, Hulk went last. He went up, threw something at Luke, and did 3 damage. And then top of turn 2, he threw another thing at Luke, dazed Luke. Or no, he made a punch against Luke. Dazed Luke picked up his hammer, then threw the other Hulk medium away and retreated back to Captain America, who was on my back gamma.
Okay.
Um, so his turn 2, he had to rearrange Hulk to get back into the fight. So Hulk didn't get to um, make any attacks. He ended up having to double move and jump to get back to even close to being into the fight. He kept Sam back, and Iron Man stayed on the middle point and shot a few shots at Captain America. But this whole game, my dice are blowing up. So I think he did. I don't think he did any damage to Captain on the 2 shots from Iron Man. And then, so he's still ahead. He goes ahead by 1. No, sorry, we're even at that point because he dropped his hammer. So that when we go even. So overall, he's up by 1 point. And then turn 3, Namor goes out, staggers Hulk, and ends up doing 6 damage because again, my dice were just atrociously good.
You were
And
rolling
then
hot rocks at this in this
yeah,
game.
yep. And then he spenders to take the thing away from Hulk and does an additional 3 damage. And I use what in the world? Avengers Assemble to rearrange Captain America to where he can bodyguard for Namor.
Smart.
He goes with Iron Man. He tries to um, ricochet blast into Namor. He only ends up getting 3 through even after the rerolls. And where he didn't go with his Hulk, I activated my Hulk and then ended up dazing his Hulk.
Okay.
And so
And
that
that's
was pretty
pretty much
much the
it.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, turn 4, I stagger Sam and then retreat back and with everybody.
A Hulk v Hulk game is real tough sometimes because you have to like it's like a dance. You can't let them get a full activation against you, and you don't want to, but you also want to go after their Hulk with everything you've got. It's an interesting dance you have to play. It sounds like you managed it very well.
Yeah, the big thing was he couldn't hear us for hire any of Namor's attacks. So whenever I wanted to go up the stagger, I had the stagger.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, nicely done, Michael. My round five, I was playing against a gentleman named Dean, who I may be playing against in the near future. Uh, we played on Skrulls and Demons Downtown at 20 threat. His list was Steve Rogers 1, uh, Captain Sam, Bullseye, Amazing Spider-Man, and Hulk. My list was Doc Ock, Sandman, Lizard, Mysterio, Vulture, and Craven. Uh, this game was incredibly close. And can I just say, Sandman was an absolute stud this entire game. Sandman was my MVP by far. Uh, there were a few times that Hulk did attacks and whiffed. Like I think in round two, he made 2 attacks and failed to daze anyone, and just because his dice were not participating very well in the game. Uh, I pulled a fantastic surprise webhead turn where I pushed Hulk. Hulk had not taken any damage at this point. Sandman's grunt pushes Hulk into the middle of my team. I attack with 5 models. I get a surprise webhead with Mysterio, with Sandman, with Doc Ock, with Vulture, and with I think uh, Lizard. Yeah, with Lizard. Everyone attacks him, and then I hit him with a Spender from Sandman, who had custom upgrades against Hulk, and so I'm rolling 14 dice with the Spender. I roll 2 hits on 14 dice in this attack. And because of that, I end up ending this turn having put 19 damage on Hulk. Probably the worst thing I could probably do. Hulk kills Mysterio and Vulture at this point on his next activation, which is a real shame. Then I take him out. Uh, this game, this game came down to a couple things breaking in my way. At one point, my opponent had Craven the Hunter, Amazing Spider-Man right next to Craven the Hunter, and so he's thinking Amazing Spider-Man will survive that, and then he doesn't. Craven the Hunter takes out Amazing Spider-Man during that activation and prevents him from activating Amazing Spider-Man that turn. And a lot of things break my way. So this game turns out very close, but I end up winning 16-14. Very close game that could have gone either way, and it just broke in my favor. So at that point now, I'm 2-3. Michael, you're also 2-3, correct?
Yeah.
And Brad, you're 3-2.
Yes.
All right. Well, how did the last round go, Brad? Let's talk about round 6.
Okay, I played a guy named Brandon who played Shield. He played Nick Fury Jr., Namor, and Hulk. I took Colossus, Psylocke, and Magic this game. On turn 1, Hulk moves, Gamma leaps, punches Magic, takes her out in 1 hit.
Oh, God.
But that was pretty early in the turn, so I got to start making attacks on Hulk turn 1. Turn 2, Colossus does several points of damage with his Spender and staggers Hulk. Then Hulk goes, and because he only has 1 attack and a throw, I think he Spenders her and throws her from the Spender, and then throws her again. And I have to brace the second one so that she lives with 1 health. She then goes off to the other side of the board to the Infinity Formula. Psylocke activates, leaves Hulk at 5 health after her first attack. So attack number 1 leaves him at 5 health left.
Oh my gosh.
I use my death ability, which will give me 3 extra dice, and declare my attack against Hulk. He eyes in the skies. He moves Hulk. He still looks like he's within 2. And I'm like, okay, that's good for me. And then he sacrifices onto Nick Fury Jr. So I end up attacking Nick Fury Jr. I put some damage on him. Not as much as, like, Hulk would have been rolling less defense dice. And I also would have, bothered re-rolling against Hulk. But, so Hulk still has 5 health left. Luckily, I have Apocalypse still to go. So I have to move Apocalypse, use the Famine teleport, and then I attack him with a Mystic attack. I don't have the Spender. He has like 3 conditions on him. So if I could have Spendered him, it would have been really good. But I couldn't. I roll. I get 1 damage through. I should have used the Immortal Servants card to recal this. Because if I Daze Hulk here, I probably win this game in the long run. But I didn't even think of that until the next turn. So in that next turn, he goes first with Hulk. He dazes Apocalypse. He dazes Psylocke. And he dazes Colossus.
Oh no. Oh no.
So that's everyone but Magic. Magic moves a little further away, and then Namor moves, charges, does the 1 damage to KO her. And then he scores points. I didn't really pay attention to how many points he said he was at. And I'm like, I'm going to play Crimson Dawn on Psylocke. And he's like, the game's over. And I look at the scoreboard, and sure enough, he's at 16. And I'm still back at 8. So,
oh man.
He wins. Game's over. And the table beside us is about 3 activations into their game.
This one went super fast.
We got started very quickly, and we played very quickly, and there was only 3 turns in the game, so it was over pretty quick. But
Yeah.
this game's absolutely mine if I get Hulk. So he did exactly what he needed to keep Hulk alive, and it mattered. So
yeah.
that's it.
Well, I know that you are a very fast player. I myself am also a pretty fast player. This will come up later in my game.
Yes.
But Michael, why don't you tell us about your round 6?
Okay. My round 6, we ended up playing Scrolls and Sword Base. We played at 15. I played Captain America, Black Widow, Namor, and Spider-Woman. And my opponent played Thanos, Mind Space, Chosen Abast, and M'Baku. I haven't had a chance to play against M'Baku at all. And it was a really interesting game. Turn 1, I took 2 of the scrolls and is that Brandon?
Yeah, that is Brandon. Hi, Brandon.
Hey, Brandon.
Did it make that really weird like Halloween sound for you guys?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's Discord is having a Halloween thing.
I was very ill prepared for that. I'm sorry.
All right, keep
Uh,
going, Mike.
sorry. And then Namor. I went with Namor last, and I was trying to just stagger Bast, but I ended up dazing him at the bottom of turn one and took that. Oh no, I didn't. I took that scroll from him, and then but after that, it just went downhill super fast. I think top of turn two, Bast ended up dazing Spider Woman. Uh, Thanos moved and ported Widow and ended up dazing her and getting both of the scrolls off of them. Or not, Spider Woman didn't have one. He got one off of Black Widow. And M'Baku he just kind of hung back and was flipping points. Um, and it was pretty much the same thing, rinse and repeat off of the rest of the turns. He would port with Thanos and daze a model and move around with the other two. Um, oh, what's their new card that gives them attacks?
Um, I forget what it's called.
Spirit of Wakanda.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So turn three, he did Spirit of Wakanda, or Spirit of Wakanda ended up dazing uh, Captain America and KOing Widow. And at that point, I just didn't have enough left to keep up on points because he was just flipping the sword base faster than I could and moving a person every turn.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think M'Baku is a very strong leader for Wakanda. I think he's a very good one.
Yeah, it was good to get to play against him. I did have fun that game.
Okay. Well, that's what's important. My round 6, I played against a criminal syndicate player named Graham. He was playing Kingpin. So, I know that the it's stacked against me already. I win the initiative. So I'm grab my secures and I'm hoping against hope that we pull uh the mutant madmen, my one pay to flip that I have in there. Of course, the one that we pull is superpowered scoundrels, probably the worst one it could possibly be. So we end up playing superpowered scoundrels and legacy virus at 20 threat. My opponent's kingpin list was very different than what I'm used to seeing. I'm used to playing against Brandon, and his kingpin, he had Kingpin, Spectacular Spider-Man, Ant-Man, Rhino, Vulture, and someone else who I do not have in my notes. That's not enough points. So I have someone missing. But Ant-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man were the odd ones out from my perspective. Uh, the my list was, and I also made a mistake with the models I played. At 20 threat, I played all 5 of my 4s. I played Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Rhino, Sandman, and Electro. I should have gone wider. I should have played 4 3s and 2 4s. I would have been better off had I done that. This game does not go well for me. My opponent is basically outscores me every round. Uh, they were a very good kingpin player, and their vulture. I mean, vulture was an absolute. He did the Lord's work in this game, constantly moving between the points and moving my people off of points every time he did. I mean, it was very impressive how much work he got out of Vulture. I do okay this game, and again, I'm playing very quickly. So I end up with something like 25 minutes left near the end of the game, and my opponent, he's playing Kingpin and he's thinking through every turn and every activation very deeply, and he realizes near the end of the game that he has 2 minutes left. Uh, it ends up being not an issue. He does not have to do all that much before the end of the game to win. So he ends up winning this game 20-8, but it was he almost clocked himself using his time just thinking through every activation. But I mean, it worked out for him because he does win. He does win this game. I knew that I was probably going to lose the moment that it was superpowered scoundrels that we pulled. That was probably the worst thing it could possibly be, and that puts me at 2-4 for this tournament. I end up with a losing record, unfortunately. Michael, you were also 2-4, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and then Brad, you end up 3-3.
I did, and every loss was to a Juicy Owl's Juicy Pal.
I mean, yeah, who are all excellent players.
Yeah,
Like
that's a good
that's
group
like
of players. So
Brad,
the winner of
you're
this tournament is a gentleman named Eric Wong. He's a Defenders player, and he's the one who cooked up the Defenders Portals game plan. I believe. I
the
believe that was
current
the
one,
first.
yeah.
He was the first one to come up with that idea, which is clearly effective. He just won second wind, so I need to think.
He also was a super nice guy that talked to us for like half an hour about Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah. He was a super nice guy. Everyone that I spoke with at this event was super nice. I really enjoyed all the people we met. Let's do a quick takeaway thoughts. Here's my thoughts. I am tired of spider foes. I I feel like I've hit my ceiling, that I'm not going to do a whole lot better. I'm playing as best I can. I'm still ending up with losing records pretty regularly in these tournaments. Uh, I think it is time for me to move on to a new faction. And so my new faction is going to be Web Warriors, everybody, or at least that's what I'm thinking. I've played a few games already, and I'm enjoying them. And what I liked about Spider Foes was the scenario focus, and so I'm just gonna lean into scenario focus. Let's do some Web Warriors, everyone. I'm looking forward to it. Michael, do you have any takeaways you want to talk about for this tournament?
Uh,
Any final thought? And if you don't have any, that's fine too.
yeah, no, I think it's a very well run tournament. It always has been, even since ever since he started running the second wind. And it's always good people, good food, and amazing beer.
Yeah. Uh, Brad, what are your thoughts here at the end of this tournament?
So I knew Root was good, but now I'm like convinced it's like one of the best conditions. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I also now feel like I need to be playing War as much as possible, which is gonna shake up my roster. I'm gonna try out Wolverine. Psylocke will still get played a lot, but she might be Famine now instead of Death, because Death is my least favorite. It's good for getting tokens, and other than that, it's the weakest one. So that's the big thing. Apocalypse was on the final table and got second place, so there is some merit in there. He wasn't
Yeah,
pure.
the faction.
He wasn't pure though. He also had a Black Order splash.
Right. Yeah, but he's proving that the Apocalypse faction is not bad. It has game. It definitely
It
has
does,
play.
and it felt like there's only one game where I didn't feel like I was in the game. Like even the other two losses, I felt like I could have won those games.
All right. All right. Well, it was a great time. I look forward to doing it again. Uh, that was Second Win. That's our discussion of Second Win. We've talked way too much about games we've played. Brandon, I would love to give you a chance to talk about games you've played, but we have seriously talked. We've talked for about an hour and a half about that. I think that we need to move on.
The character you forgot your opponent played was Black Cat. That's all I have.
I don't think it was Black Cat.
It has to be. It's the only other 3 in his roster.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it has to be Black Cat.
Yes.
Okay.
Unless one of the others were incorrect, is if he had the other 3 threes, he would have to have that 3.
I believe that it had to be Black Cat then. I think that she just didn't do much this game. She must just not because I probably
think she was
dealt
there.
with her.
Because I got to
Okay.
watch a lot of Fred's game because we were down early.
Right.
He only has 4 threes on his list: Spectacular, Ant-Man, Vulture, and Black Cat.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that answers that question. It was Black Cat. That also makes sense. That's the model to take. Okay.
It also had to be a 3 in affiliation.
Right. Right. Okay. Brad, I've got a question.
Yeah.
Do you have trivia or do you not want to do trivia this week?
No, I don't have trivia. We just talked for like an hour about our games.
Right. Okay. All right, then let's move on to the person that we are here to talk about today. That person is Werewolf by Night, and I do not have him up. Oh my gosh, I have.
Oh, we lost Fred. He's gone forever.
No, no.
Fred's gone.
I'm not gonna wait for Fred anymore. Werewolf by Night,
Hey.
better known as Jack Russell, has 4
Yep.
physical, 4 energy, 2 mystic defense, 7 health on both sides. Is a 5 threat character, size 3, and moves medium on a medium base.
That is correct. I guess I will.
Fred, go over the attacks.
Yeah, I'll go over the attacks. His first attack is a physical attack called Savage Slash. It is range 3. It throws 6 dice. It is a builder. After the attack is resolved, if damage was dealt, the target character gains the bleed special condition within range 1 of the target character. His second attack is a physical attack called Lethal Lycanthrope. It is range 2. It throws 7 dice, and it costs 3 power to play. After this attack is resolved, if the target character is size 3 or less, this character may throw it away short. And on a hit trigger, it has Curse of the Wolf. After this attack is resolved, the target character gains the Bleed and Hex special conditions.
All right, Brad, give us the first 2 superpowers.
His first active superpower is called Pounce. It costs 3. Throw this character short. It does not suffer damage if it collides with another character terrain feature. This superpower can be used once per turn. His second active superpower is Unearthly Howl. It costs 2. Choose an enemy character within range 3 of this character. Roll 4 dice. The chosen character loses power equal to the number of crit, wilds, and hit results. Additionally, for each skull rolled, the chosen character gains one of the following special conditions: slow or root. A character can be affected by this superpower only once per turn.
His last superpower is a reactive superpower called Midnight Massacre for 3 power. After an attack against this character is resolved, it may use this superpower. If the attacker is within range 3, the character can make a Savage Slash attack targeting the attacker. This superpower can be used once per turn and has the innate healing factor 2.
Okay. I don't know what's wrong with my mic. I'm sorry, everyone. Let's talk about his tactics card before we talk about anything else. It is a card called Phases of the Moon. It is unaffiliated and reactive, and at the start of the activation phase, Werewolf by Night.
Yep, we lost Fred again.
At the
Oh my
start of the
gosh.
activation phase, Werewolf by Night may play this card. Choose one of the following effects. The first one is New Moon, that this character must spend 1 power before using the Midnight Massacre superpower while this character is defending. If it is holding or contesting an objective token, it may reroll 1 die in its defense roll for each special condition the attacking character has. The second option is Full Moon. This character cannot interact with, contest, or hold extract objective tokens. While this character is attacking, it may reroll 1 die in its attack rolls for each special condition the target has. This character gains the chosen effect for the remainder of the game.
Okay. This is terrible. I mean, it, it's it's really bad, right? Like this is
Yeah,
not a good card.
it's bad.
I feel like it's been watered down so much that it's not even worth taking.
Yeah, if you took it and played it, you'd want the new moon ability, but it's not great.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it's a little confusing. What New Moon is saying is that you have to spend an additional power every time you use Midnight Massacre.
Yeah,
That's
and
awful.
rerolling defense die is great, and I wish it just said reroll a defense die instead of a die
Per
for
condition.
each condition.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the card's bad. Don't play the card.
Okay, let's talk about this character though. One of us has played this character multiple times.
So he
And
should
that
go
person.
last.
Okay, all right, well, fair. Michael, why don't you talk about this character some? Because this is a character that you feel particularly connected to, right?
Yeah, I was very excited when they announced the character. Um, it's definitely worth 5 points. Um, I'm not extremely excited for it anymore. Um, just because it doesn't seem like it, I don't care for the playstyle all that much. But he's definitely a solid 5 point, especially in its affiliation.
Yeah. I think that the more I've seen him on the table, he's got some interesting play things that he can do. Unearthly Howl is really good. I think that ability is better than it seems. It can be
Root is good.
really quite. Yeah, you can give out root or slow, and you take away power from people. That's really, and it's only 2 power, which is pretty easy for this character to have. Uh, yeah, I like Unearthly Howl quite a bit.
Oh yeah, it's definitely the best thing on this card.
Yeah, I also like Pounce. Pounce is really good. Hey Brad, why don't what are your thoughts here about Werewolf by Night?
I just I think he's pretty good. I've been championing him and telling people they should be playing them. Like I've told Brandon multiple times that he should be playing them, and Brandon has played him. And let's hear Brandon's thoughts.
I've played 3 games with Werewolf by Night. Um, being able to attack on turn one's really good. So like being able to just like move up and attack, because the medium move allows them to attack the center line on turn one. If you get the wild, you get a place on the center line. If you deal damage, they get bleed, which is all good. And if you get, a power, or if you get 2 power, you can pounce into them. So like I've multiple times I've been able to um, move up, attack, place myself, and then pounce into the character. I did that against Fred actually,
Yeah,
uh, and
I think
because he
all
made
three of your games were against me.
with Werewolf by Night, no, one of them was against CJ.
Oh, okay, okay.
I played him against CJ in a very similar matchup that I played against you this past week. The Yeah, like he always has something to do on his turn. Like the worst thing that can happen to him is like if you were playing against a Werewolf by Night, like you want to get the power off of him, because like without power he literally does nothing. Um, so like you're really trying to keep power on him, like but he can do something with all his power. Like if you gain it, but you don't have a pounce target, or you don't want to unearthly howl, you don't have a good unearthly howl target, like then you just hold the power, and if anyone attacks him, you can Midnight Massacre and attack back. And dazing people and hurting people on their own turn feels really good. The you do have to be careful. Like the two Mystic defense is really, really something you have to kind of watch out for. But like if you're like most of the attacks in the game are physical and energy, so like he has a pretty good defense, being able to heal twice. I've played against Web Warriors twice with him. Like it is very, very, very hard for them to deal with Werewolf by Night. He is a pain for a lot of like a lot of the smaller like control affiliations, and the pounce being an auto 4 damage is really good against like especially Web Warriors if you have 5 health. Like it just is better. He's better than I thought he would be. Um, because he does honestly like everything. Like he has a place, like gives out good conditions. He has an auto place. He can defensively attack back. He can kind of mess with an opponent. Like I unearthly howled once and took off of all Black Cat's power and gave her slow. Feels super good. He has a pounce, so he has out of like activation movement where he can just move out of activation. Like he can get around the board. He has the defensive attack back. Like it doesn't feel good attacking him because he is going to just hit you back. Um, and then he has healing factor. So like he does more than I thought he would do. It is hard where he is a 5. It is kind of awkward to play him in some lists, like because he is like especially in like his only known affiliation being like Midnight Suns. Like you are competing with like Ghost Rider, and like we know what Ghost Rider can do, so it kind of feels kind of bad. Like it's kind of tough, and I think that's gonna be the hardest thing because his tactics card is so bad. Like you're not gonna play it, and it like a lot of the main characters like you see in this game, like a lot of them they get a lot of play. Like they have tactics cards that are attached to them, and like that's an important thing. So it does stink that he doesn't have that. That's actually playable, but like Pounce on a size 3 character is really good, and he can give out slow, root, hex, and bleed, which are 4 really good conditions. Um, they're putting root on a lot more characters recently. It's been something I've been noticing.
I mean, good. Root is really good.
Yeah,
Root.
and they didn't do root for a long time, so like. But yeah, I think he's better than anticipated. Like the worst thing about it, like being a 5 threat is it makes it really awkward. Um, but he's by no means bad. He still may be like the worst character in this box, but like this box is really, really good.
Yeah, I feel like the one problem with him is that he comes in a box with Dracula, who is also 5 threat.
And he plays well. I mean, every time I've played him, it's been under Dracula, and he's played really well under Dracula. But it's unfortunate because you are looking at, um, I doing the math, and I've done the math a lot. Like the only point levels I think I ever take him at are 15 and 20, um, which is fine. Like I get, like it's not a bad thing. The list at 15 with him and Dracula, and then a 3 of your choice, and then like a 2 point, like feels really good. Um, Especially with the auto damage from Pounce. Um, you can just kind of take out characters like you just pounce. Fred can attest. I think in our game I pounced every single activation with him.
You did, and it
Yeah,
was devastating every single
yeah,
time.
yeah. It's just one of those where 4 auto damage is really good. It's weird how that works out. So he's better than I thought he would be by a pretty large margin, honestly. Like I thought he would have trouble getting all the power he needs to do all the things that he wants to do, and that's sometimes true. Like if you're not attacking into him, like a 6 die builder is really the only way he's gaining power, so that can be kind of tough. But if you put him in affiliations where you can gain power, um, like extra power, he's gonna feel really good.
All right, all right. Well, I having played against him, I can attest that he is really tough to deal with. He can really mess up every plan that you have. Uh, I think he's good. He's like a frontline beater and there are a lot of those in this game. So,
Yeah,
but
and the
he's
seven
pretty good.
seven, the 7 health healing factor and 4 defense dice doesn't. It makes it feel really bad attacking into him.
Yeah, you have to spike enormously to take him out, and like I played Web Warriors against him, and I could not do anything. There was nothing I could do against this model. It was a big problem.
Yeah, I did play him twice in the Web Warriors, and that's like he's pretty. It's really they honestly. I don't know how they deal with him. I just don't think they do. Um, it's really tough. And so there are matchups. Like I said, a lot of the matchups there, he's going to go really wide. Like I think he'd be really good against Mystique's Brotherhood. Like any of those lists that are trying to go really wide, like I think he's going to be really good in because he can kind of just attack, throw himself, and it's like, all right, there's one model down. Then it's like he can do that kind of every activation, um, and like kind of make sure that like he's like he can almost guarantee that he's taking out a model in activation.
Yep. Okay, let's give this guy a letter grade. Let's talk about that. So I feel like he's probably the worst model in the monsters box, but that's not saying anything because they're all outstanding models. I think he's really good. I think there's a lot of good here on the card. Um, like I said, he's a frontline beater where there's always going to be a place for that in the game. Uh, I think I'm gonna give him. I'm gonna give him a B plus. I'm gonna give him a gentleman's B plus. Uh, Michael, what do you think about Werewolf by Night? What letter grade are you gonna give to him?
Uh, like I agree, he's a solid 5 point model. I was actually also thinking B plus.
Okay, all right. Brad, how about you? What are your thoughts here?
I just want to point out something that hasn't been pointed out before in the podcast today. I know from a lot of experience with Beast that the leap trigger on his builder can be a liability just as much as it is a help. I just
Oh
want to
yeah,
point that out because
Yeah,
no one has.
it is automatic.
It is
Yeah.
automatic, is not optional. I was also thinking B plus. Like I think he's going to be really solid in whatever affiliations he happens to have, such as Midnight Suns and probably Shield.
Oh, weird. Okay. All right, and Brandon, what have you got here?
I really love the fact that we've been saying he's going to be in Shield for like months now, and every single time it gets mentioned, Fred goes, "Huh, weird."
Yeah,
Every time.
do you know why? Because it's weird. That that's why.
But it's always like it's like the first time you ever hear it. It's
Fred,
like, okay.
who better to be on the Howling Commandos than Werewolf by Night?
Isn't he famously the only one in this box who hasn't actually been on the Howling Commandos?
No, that's
Yes.
Dracula.
No, it's
Oh,
also
okay.
Werewolf by Night. It is Vampire by Night, who was part of the Howling Commandos.
No, Werewolf was too. I'm sure of it.
No, I looked it up because I was excited about it, and then he's never been part of the unless I missed it somewhere. But I definitely did look it up.
Huh.
I'm also going to give him a B plus.
Okay. Is this a unanimous? Has this
Yeah, I don't
ever
like it.
happened? We're all B plus on this guy. Okay, well, there we go. That's Werewolf by Night. Um, Brad, do you have any comic books that feature
I
this
I
character?
do.
His name is Jack Russell.
His name is Jack Russell. Uh, Supposedly the guy who named him Jack Russell, did not realize the pun when he named him. Supposedly.
Really? I don't believe you. I don't believe that. He's lying.
Okay. I have two recommendations today. The first one is the Werewolf by Night series. Uh, there's several writers and several artists that worked on the series because it went pretty long. Um, and there are a lot of storylines. But if you want as much werewolf content as possible, this is the book. It's the only long series that ever stars him. Uh, After this, he gets cameos in other people's books or one shots. And there's even a new Werewolf by Night, so Jack Russell doesn't even show up anymore, really. So this is like the main thing. I do have a guest appearance. He showed up in Moon Knight 29 and 30 from 1983. This is by Doug Munch and Bill Sienkiewicz. And Doug also worked on the Werewolf by Night series. So he brings back Werewolf, and a satanic cult is out to get Werewolf, and Moon Knight is trying to rescue him. And can these former foes team up and defeat them, or will they cut each other's throat? Because if you remember, well, maybe Fred will remember. I don't think I said this on the podcast, but Moon Knight's first appearance is actually in the Werewolf by Night comic. I think I talked about that on Moon Knight's episode. I think, but I'm not sure.
Huh.
And
I don't remember this. I don't remember.
yeah, and it's an interesting story.
I mean, it kind of makes sense with his name. It's like Werewolf by Night and Moon Knight.
Yep.
It kind of goes together.
And now Werewolf showing up in Moon Knight's comic, because by the 80s, Moon Knight was a much more popular character. That's it. Those are my comic recommendations.
Okay, then. All right. So there's really not a whole lot of Werewolf by Night out there.
No, there's not. He just shows
kinda
up
like
every
Encanto.
once in a while. Sometimes there's like a single issue about him. Like, for example, this past summer, there's an issue of whatever the vampire crossover was, Blood Hunt. There's a Blood Hunt Werewolf by Night issue, one single issue, but it wasn't even about Jack Russell. It was about the new Werewolf by Night.
The new one. Okay. Yeah. Poor Jack Russell. He's being forgotten. Okay. Well, Brandon, do you have any affiliations that this person is not affiliated with where you think that he would really shine?
I think he'll be a really good option in like Hellfire Club and under like Steve 1. I also think I like him in Steve 3 just because if you don't want that wild, you can change, like you can kind of like anything that can alter your dice or give him extra power is really where he's going to shine.
I don't. Can he change a wild? I guess he can. If you roll a hit, you can change your wild into something else. You just never
Change
do
it
that.
you could change your wild into like a hit or a crit. Like it would definitely stink, but it's one of those where if you don't want to move, you have that option too.
Yeah. Okay.
So just like I think those are places that he can be considered just because like especially like Steve 1 where if everything his superpowers start costing like 2 and 1, it's gonna feel a lot better than the 3 and 2 that they cost currently.
Right. I think Steve 1 is a great place for him. Okay. Well, I guess the only thing that's left is my non sequitur recommendation. So I'm going to recommend a 2018 series on AMC called The Terror. It's currently streaming on Netflix. This is a story about the ill-fated expedition into finding the Northwest Passage near the North Pole by British ships in the 1850s. The real life story, they end up eating each other and everybody dies. That's the real life story. But this is a fictionalized version of the story where they are hunted across the frozen wastes by a beast that is perhaps more than just a polar bear, a very important human-like creature. It does not go into a whole lot of details about what this creature is, but it is very scary. It is a very well-acted series. I would call it some of the best acting I've seen in a long time, honestly. And it is extremely tense and extremely good. Highly recommend it. That is The Terror, currently streaming on Netflix. And that is it for our show
Wait,
today. Oh,
before
okay,
we
waiting.
go, I do want to confirm Werewolf by Night has been on the Howling Commandos.
Oh, okay.
Double check.
Okay.
He has.
Well, all right then. I guess it would be an own goal if they did not have Werewolf by Night on the Howling Commandos. All right. Well, that's it for our show today. Thanks everyone for joining us, and sorry this was a long one that we talked a lot about our second wind experience, but that's the biggest thing that we did. That's the only important thing that we managed to do. So, goodbye everybody. Thank you for joining us this week, and thank you Michael for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.